Do you remember what was going through your head back in 2014 when you joined that very first course of mine?
I think it was just, it made sense. I was already, every teacher has a side hustle. I used to say, people were like, how did you get into doing your own? I said, every teacher has a side hustle, but I can control what I do. And I know my value because I came from
Yeah.
another industry where I made more money, essentially. I came into teaching and I was at the library. And I think the piece that for me was like, online. I have a computer. I know what Skype is. That was when you were the Skyping,
Yes, that's right. The Sky thing reading tutor.
Yes, yes.
Hello. Today's guest is someone who's been a part of my journey from the very beginning. Malissa Stoudymire was one of the first people to purchase my course back in 2014, where I was helping tutors, and it has been so incredible to watch her grow over the years. And we finally got to meet in Atlanta last month, and she's now a powerful member of our Insider Secrets Club 3.0. And she has so much wisdom to share about mentorship, reading intervention, and the magic that happens when you stay in the room long enough. Malissa, welcome. I'm so glad you are here.
Oh, me too. It's been a long time. I'm
It's
excited.
been a long. So let's start at the beginning. How did you go from a background in marketing to becoming a full-time reading tutor?
It was kind of like a dream deferred, which is funny because it's like I really was a natural teacher. I used to hold classroom in my bedroom with all the neighborhood kids. And they would do everything I asked them to. I gave them stickers and worksheets, and I made everything until my brother would like break camp and then take all his friends with him. So my classroom went out the door. And a lot of my family are educators. And then when I got to the point of making a decision, I was like, I think business is the place for me. So I had this dream I was going to be in business, and I loved it. I had a great first experience. I was at my place for 10 years working in advertising, and I worked on big brands, household goods, cultural tourism, a lot of fun stuff, a lot of good learning, and I loved the project management part of it, but it wasn't my passion. We'd win awards, and I used to turn to my colleague and I'd say, is it weird that I don't get excited about this? I'm not excited that we won an award for this commercial. I'm more excited that I made the client happy and that I was able, he was like, hey, how about the annual report? And I'd already have the shell ready for him because he was a tough guy to deal with. So there was that part of it too. There's dealing with adults that act like children or just dealing with children who are children.
Yeah.
So that was another shift for me. But the
Yeah.
long and short of it was a dream deferred. When I relocated, actually, while I worked at that place, I expressed a concern that I was going to go back to school, which they were like, yeah, if you were getting an MBA, that makes sense, but you're going to get an education certificate. And they let me do it. I took off time to be a teacher while working. I would student teach, and then I'd come back and work at the firm, and told no one, and they let me do it. And I stayed. I said, this is for a backup.
Yeah.
I stayed and transitioned, and I hit the ground running. And my first year out of teaching, I was teacher of the year for my school. And I just brought a different, I think, perspective because I came in, oh, we need to fix this and we need to change that and this and that. And it was a charter. So there were some challenges. But I said, now, hey, I've taught at a charter. I can teach with a pack of these. So
Yeah.
so flashcard, we didn't have a lot of resources. So you learn to be creative with it.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome journey. And then my tutoring came out of parents. Parents asked, hey, during the summer, do you think you could work with my student? And I was like, sure. Yeah, why not? It wasn't something I purposely did, but then I saw the enjoyment of working one-on-one.
Yeah.
Something you could never do in the classroom.
Oh, yeah. There is something different between teaching a classroom of kids and working with kids one-on-one and seeing the growth because it can happen so quickly compared to when you're teaching with a bunch of kids in front of you that are all at different levels. Do you remember what was going through your head back in 2014 when you joined that very first course of mine?
Oh, man.
I'm curious about what made you take the leap.
I think it was just it made sense. Every teacher has a side hustle. I used to say, people were like, how did you get into doing your own? I said, every teacher has a side hustle, but I can control what I do. And I know my value because I came from another industry where I made more money, essentially. I came into teaching and I was at the library. And I think the piece that for me was like online. I have a computer. I know what Skype is. That was when you were the Skype,
Yes.
you know.
That's right, the Skyping reading tutor.
Yes. I think it just made sense. And you were very personable. I think relatable. Your story was almost identical. The amount of time you taught in the classroom, the amount of time I had taught in the classroom. We both were into reading. I do reading and math, but my primary focus is reading. And I think it just made sense. It was just lining up the things that when you're ready to, when I wanted to transition into teaching, I went and sought out expert information through a certificate program. I wanted to streamline things.
Yeah.
And talk about a game changer. No more collecting checks at the library or going to the library, period. I loathed going to the bank. I have all these things. And then I didn't want money to be transferred in the library. And the librarians are that nice. When you're trying to teach or trying to impart some wisdom here. There was quite a few. I've even made friends with some of the tutors that used to tutor at the library that I've kept in touch with.
Awesome. So that role in mentorship, it really helped you really grow your business and business skills and your confidence as a tutor as well.
Yeah, I had the business background. It was just making it make sense for what I was now doing.
Exactly.
And more importantly than anything, you'd already walked the pathway. So you'd already walked the journey that I was on, especially in the online sector. It was a proof that I could do it, number one, proof that parents could subscribe to it, because as I started to float it out, they were like, you mean like a course? They weren't grasping. But then as soon as they tried it, it was like, let me give you a little sample. It was like, oh, can we do that thing again? So you'd already tested out several of the systems, automizing your business, just several of the things that it would have taken me longer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? More trials and tribulations. Oh, you'd already tried this didn't work. This works. Or at least what I love about you is that this works now. I'm going to keep evolving.
Yes. And that really is the big piece, right? Because the industry has changed quite a lot since I started this in 2010. AI was not part of the conversations.
No,
the pandemic wasn't even predicted. And so it is you have to constantly be open-minded to that things are going to change. But you really bring up a good point, because I always tell people, look, when you join our community, this is about skipping the line, because you can go through the line and you can continue to make all the mistakes that all the tutors that came before you have made, or you can figure out what are going to be the systems that are going to help you run a more sustainable business right out of the gate, so that you can skip those mistakes and learn from the people who come before you.
Yes, 100%. And you're like on an island when I used to teach and tutor. So I was in my community, and then I'd run to the library, and then once that was taken away and I was able to serve more, that's the other thing, is that you are in a business, but you're ultimately trying to serve more students that the parents are struggling with figuring out what to do for them. And much like we do for the parents, is we provide that guidance. We already know what the steps are. They have no clue. So being in a program, having a coach provides that guidance that you don't have. You're doing it for one sector, but you're doing it for us as well. So, I always appreciate it. It was before I would talk with you, obviously online, and we would be in our groups, but I would say she's my mentor, but I don't know if she knows it. She's like my online mentor, because a mentor is sometimes you sit down to lunch with in the old times, but now you could be in Bangladesh and we could still have a relationship for many years. So
it's so amazing. And then when they come to Atlanta and they're like, wait, You're in Atlanta right now. Oh my gosh, like we all have to meet. This has been amazing. Because you do build relationships with people online. The only people who don't think that you can build a relationship online are those people that haven't built a relationship online and haven't tried it. I always find that like funny. Like people are like, oh, you can't have the same kind of relationship as you do in person. Oh, yes, you can.
Yes, I always tell them, I say, the only thing I can't do is hug you especially when I'm with kids. I'm like, I can't hug you. And I can't nudge you, and then there's the stinky part. You don't want that part.
That's right. Yeah.
Some of those little closed library rooms, and kids, sometimes there were like some little funny things that happened. Then I was like, "Ooh, we need to open up the door, my friend."
Exactly. What would you say is the difference between trying to figure this out alone versus being in a community of people that are working towards the same goals?
Speed and just, I think the feeling of camaraderie, accountability. Yeah, speed is one of them.
Yeah.
Being able to cut to the chase and then having another person's perspective that, oh, we've already tried this, or I tried it like this doesn't work, or here, let me show you. Sometimes it's jumping on a call and saying, here, I'll show you how this is, or this is how I do it. And you're like, oh, you might turn a problem on its head and say, oh, wow, I didn't think of it that way, or I didn't use the tool that way. You brought up a perfect point with the pandemic. We were already pre-pandemic ready because I had been Skyping and then Zooming, and I'm like, this is what I do. My teachers at my old school knew that I was an online tutor, and they were like, hey, do you think you could teach me Zoom? And I'm like, sure. And I would give them just a few pointers because they were grasping at straws. So I'd already walked the walk. So having that community there to bump ideas off of, or just have them walk you through something that you hadn't done or were maybe afraid to do, I don't know. Hearing their story, it makes a difference.
It does. All right, I'm going to bring you back. So somebody met you back in 2014, and then they met you now. What would be the biggest change that they'd notice?
My hair is red. Biggest change from then, maybe more confident. I think generally, specifically for me, I've done a lot of training in my specific niche. I'm much more focused in that area. I have a website. I didn't have that then. But I think for me, maybe overall confidence when I'm not I've represented products and such, but I'm a much more of a natural saleswoman than let me discount it. I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
I know my worth. And part of that probably because I came from a different sector, but I know my worth. And so when I talk to parents, I'm knowledgeable, even more so knowledgeable about some of the practices that help their child get from point A to point B, but as well as the conversation is just, this is what we need to do. This is how we start out. Here's our assessment. We move forward and let me know when you're ready. And there's no high pressure to it. It has never been that way. And I've also have you to thank for understanding when it's okay to say no. And I know not every tutor can do that or will do it, but I won't jeopardize what I've set up for or adjust because it's not a good fit for them, or they tell me what price to price my things at. I spent a lot of time building myself up, taking courses, enrolling, getting certifications, things like that.
Yeah.
That I know my worth. I know what I bring to the table. And I know what impact I make on children and families. On my wall, I have pictures of my kiddos that have gone on to Notre Dame. One just got accepted to a full ride to Ohio State University. I know what I'm writing letters of recommendation all the time. And these are not one-offs. These are kids that stay with me. Some of them have had struggles, and then we move it to other areas. I'm the backup support. Please keep them in honors classes. And I've worked with a variety of different kids. I see all different levels of achievement. Achievement and success looks different in different families. I get invited to their graduations. I get invited to their parties. And if they have a game and I'm local, because not everybody's here, some of them are further away, I'll see them. I visited Florida and I knocked on the door and I got to meet one of my students for the first time and he was blown away. Yeah. That part you can't get that in the classroom. There's the day-to-day, but this is different. So
it is. I had always talked with one of my students about coming to England and getting to meet her, and I said it's on my bucket list. Try to make it happen. And She was in second grade when I started working with her, and she is now 19 years old. And I finally got the chance to not just meet her, but everyone in her family that I had also worked with throughout the years. I worked with the family for 8 years and had that opportunity to say, hey, I'm coming to London, and you guys are the first people that I wanted to tell and see if we could make it happen for us to finally meet. And
so
we
cool.
did. It was an incredible experience to do that. So I do love, if I'm in an area where I know I have students, I always find out, hey, how far is that from where I'm going to be, so that we can connect and we can meet. And with some of my students that live close to me, I love to crochet. I'll surprise them and come to their house with a crocheted blanket, and yeah, they just love it.
I get very connected with my parents. They are
Yeah.
an extended part of my family, honestly. They're
Yeah.
sending me like, hey, we're moving. Here's our house. Send it out to your friends. You know what I mean? We're going beyond, which is why I call my business the Extra Mile Reading Tutor, because I've always done that for the kids I work with, even in the classroom. That's what it was born out of, the pushing of the limit, the boundary. Go the extra mile. Do the things that are not typically done. Just ignite their curiosity. It's inside of me. And so that's why it was like, why did you wait so long to do teaching?
Get to do the real teaching. I feel like this is what teaching was meant to be like all along versus what we were forced to do inside of the classroom.
System, yes.
Yes.
No, I agree.
And so, like you and I, we both like to meet our students in person, but then other tutors we'd like to meet as well. And so when I came to Atlanta, I was like, I need to like organize it so that we can come. And the timing didn't work. And I was like, no, we're gonna make it happen. If you can meet later, we're going to make it happen. And so you took me to your favorite place. What was it like finally getting to meet in Atlanta after all of these years of knowing each other online?
It was like surreal, because it's like hearing your voice and seeing you, and we're just following after the things that you've provided us, brought in, whether we're online in a group or I'm watching a recorded video of you. It was wild. She's really here. We've been talking for all this time, which again is probably like when our kids meet us. Oh, wow.
Like you're a celebrity.
This is the person that opened the door for this opportunity. I'm always going to be forever thankful. And I still don't know how I found you. I have zero clue. I just remember that sounds good and that makes sense. And then I some kind of way connected. And then what I also loved about you, that you've encouraged all of the community, is to try things. You have that natural, just try it. And you're not afraid to make a mistake. Even I remember when you did the first Facebook Live, it was like, okay, we're going to try this, guys. And it could have been 10 people on that first live or 100 people, and it wouldn't have mattered to you. And you're like, oh, wait, we're going to figure it out. You bring in the resources that you need from the outside world if you can't figure out something. And again, much like we do, we need to find those coaches, those other people in our community. And even with the Insider Circle, I've made some connections there. And I've even, like, when the tornadoes happened, I hit one of them up on my text, which is unrelated to tutoring. I'm like, don't you live in Missouri? Are you okay? And she was like, oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate you checking on me. And she actually was caught in the storm. No damage to her house, but just those kind of things that you do form relationships and a connection beyond the business stuff.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, you really do. All right. So now you're now someone that tutors can look up to because you've been doing this for so long. What advice would you give a tutor who's on the fence about seeking help or joining a program like the Insider Secrets Club?
I heard a quote one time, I think I was in Jumpstart when she said it, and I don't remember her name, but she said the words, just jump. And that forever stuck with me. Now, I can't say that I've always done that, but many a times I have. My husband says I have, what's it called when you think about something too long? Analysis
Paralysis.
Yes, that can happen. But if you just jump, and if your gut says it feels right, you check, you do all the things to check things out. Go for it. It's worth it. It's worth it. And not every coach is the same. I can tell you, I've been lucky to meet you, and I'm part of another group that they are really good and continuously supportive, and then I'll just drop you off.
Yeah.
Hey, here's those, thanks, and then you just get a bunch of spammed emails.
Right. Yeah, it's not personal.
will say that.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Just jump. I loved that. That individual said that. And I said, I need to do more of that. I need to do more of it. I'm a very cautious person. I'm an observer. I've been an observer for a lot of my life. But with this, it just comes natural to just do and go for it. Makes a lot of sense. And it's worth your investment.
Yeah. All right. This is our rapid fire fun closing new segment here. What's one word your students would use to describe you?
Silly.
Coffee or tea while lesson planning?
Oh, coffee with a lot of cream.
Favorite go-to book to recommend to a young reader?
Too many to name. Usually a decodable book is what I'm going to say. Something decodable. I got readers.
One thing you wish you could tell 2014 Melissa.
What are you waiting for? Go for it.
I love it.
Okay.
Melissa, your story is such a beautiful example of what's possible when people stay consistent. And that's really what it's about, right? You keep
100%.
learning, you keep surrounding yourself with the right people. So thank you for sharing your story so openly. And thank you for being one of the first people to say yes to this work all those years ago. And I am so proud of everything that you have built.
Thank you. Likewise, I appreciate all the things that you've done as well. And hey, you're opening doors for folks, so I appreciate it.